We are starting. This is what day is it?
I think you said 236.
236. I just got the Bible verse right here. I don't have the specific day. But what's happening? It's G6365. And listen, I know y'all seen this guy. And I was quite jealous watching the 365s, knowing that we got one of the greatest creative dudes around here. I was like, man, I want to do a GC 365 with Jeremy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you know Jeremy, Aiello, but I just want to underscore that this dude is majorly gifted.
Oh,
so
thank you, Jason.
You're welcome, brother. Do you read the Bible?
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
It would be a failure in my eyes to not read it.
I read it too. This is like G65 between two ferns.
We do have not ferns, but they're close.
So let's get started. I know you all read and y'all like, okay, get to the meat. This is some good stuff. So Job.
Yeah.
Sweet
dude. It's an intense book.
Right. This is why it's in the middle and not the first, because actually chronologically it's the oldest book. Most people don't know that. So, but I guess let's put it in the middle. Because if you started off reading the Bible, you read Job, you're like, you know what, I'm done. If this is how God does the people who love him.
Yeah.
So I love how chapter 12 starts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, you people really know everything, don't you? Job is like fed up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, y'all dudes are blaming me.
Yeah. He's going around saying that he's looking like a laughing stock too.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, I'm struggling here. You know? Like, danger, my life is falling apart and you guys are laughing at me. What's going on there?
Right. So he's saying, hey friends, here's what you need to know. Which one is Job? The black one or the white one? I don't know.
I'd say Job is probably the one with the glasses. He looks a little bit more hurt.
I don't know.
He's a little angry though.
Hurt. Both of these.
That's true.
Dudes. Maybe one of them's hurt for the front. Well, since I got him, I'll be Job. And when you talk Job, you'll be Job. This is puppeteering, and all the type A people like get over it already. Let's talk Bible. So, but here's the thing. I love how Job starts saying, man, y'all are talking all this noise, but here's, like you say, here's how I feel. I'm actually people are laughing at me, and the people are laughing at me are seemingly like in the successful seat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst. I don't know have you ever been laughed at? Like you a majorly creative dude. Has anybody ever laughed at you about the creative things you want to do with the church?
I mean, that's just part of life, you know? You're going to come up with an idea and it might be a little out there, but you've got a little traction. You've got an idea. You've got something going with it. And then someone's like, that's a dumb idea.
Absolutely.
That happens all the time. Happens to everybody.
Not me.
Well, you're a special case.
I know. It happens to me a lot. I got to speak some encouragement to myself quite a bit. So when I'm reading the Bible, especially like with Job, when it gets hard, I like my Bible app, but on some of it, man, I just got to get the old faithful. I got to get a physical Bible.
Get the physical, take some notes.
Yeah,
underline, highlight.
Right. Yeah, because I got some notes written in here. What I love nature. So I love how Job brings in the animals.
Yeah.
And he says this, he said, just ask the animals and they'll teach you. Like you ask the birds and they're going to speak about this thing. The earth is going to speak about this thing. Y'all are blaming me for everything. And I'm saying even the birds and the animals, they know God enough to recognize what's God and what's not.
Yeah.
I think that was, again, that's why I say Job was at his wit's end. Like, dude, y'all are saying this. Y'all think y'all know everything. Y'all know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The birds and the animals of the field, they actually make more sense than you all.
They know what's up. It reminds me of St. Francis. He's known for preaching to the animals. That was kind of his quip. Sounds crazy, but he found this like community with animals where he would preach to birds, and the birds would gather and listen. And like it just shows how real God is when this guy's out preaching to birds looking like a nutcase, but the birds are all coming like listening, like he's got stuff to say about God. That's awesome. You know?
Yeah, like tweeting amen. I preached to my dog once.
Really? Was it like a practice preach?
It was the word got so good to me. It was actually on the old King James word concupiscence. It's like the idea of not being satisfied. And dude, I was studying this so much, I realized how concupiscence shows up in everybody and in every creature.
Yeah.
And I was looking at my dog and how he always wants treats. And dude, I started studying it. There you go, right there.
All right. These are my favorite.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
I just found them over there. So that's how. So yeah, and I just started preaching to my dog, man, about, you know, how he deals with this. And my brother, speaking of laughing, dude, my brother laughed so hard. And it was just hysterical to him. It was funny to me too, but I was like, I see how this applies to a dog. I'm gonna preach the gospel to every creature.
Mm-hmm.
That's too funny. Now, one thing he says here in verse 12, he says, wisdom belongs to the age and understanding to the old. So it'd be interesting. I wish I knew the exact ages of Job and his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe these dudes were younger.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, y'all too young to really understand it. Or it could have been an insult, like y'all are old and y'all still don't get it.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty perturbed.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right word?
He had a bit of a life beforehand. You know, he had kids and stuff. He wasn't young for sure.
Man, I can't imagine. I actually just recorded a video of my wife and I telling our miscarriage stories. We lost 2 babies. And my wife, when she was giving her spot, man, my wife is such a godly woman, dude. And just listening to her tell her perspective, I mean, I've known it, but just how she looked at it is, you know what? We lost a baby, or babies, and God is sovereign. And we're not going to curse God because of our perceived disappointment about his sovereignty and his will. Mm-hmm. And dude, that stuff was so good. So I want to encourage anybody, whether it's miscarriages, whether it's whatever the difficulty that you're going through, you know, if you're this guy or that guy that just fell down, that just dropped to the ground and you're having a bunch of hard times, like don't view it as necessarily like something that God hates you, but do view it in the aspect of that, man, God is sovereign and God is doing something in the mess.
Yeah. Which can be really hard to believe when you're going through all that. There's even times where Job kind of gives up and is like, what are you doing, God? You make me look like a fool.
Yeah.
And I mean, when it all comes back to, though, is God had a plan. He had something he was working on the entire time.
Right. And the ultimate question is, do you really know God? Mm-hmm. Like, even like it's our understanding of God that actually sustains us during the difficult times, even when we question. And God can handle questions, so it's okay to question him, but just, you know, let your understanding of him and what he says about himself in his word be that thing that kind of holds you. I love when I was reading this, it's almost like he starts preaching. Mm-hmm. He gets super, in my mind, he gets super emotional. And I'm reading this like a old preacher from where I grew up in my own church, because he starts killing it.
Yeah.
And I just want to read it a little bit kind of like that, because he gives all these, he gives God, he says he, speaking of God, and then he gives all of these verbs about God. He says, one, starting in verse 17, he leads counselors away. He removed, verse 17, verse 18, he removes the royal robes. He leads priests away. He silences the trusted advisors. He pours disgrace upon the princes. He uncovers mysteries. He builds up nations. He expands nations. He strips the kings. They grope, okay? He makes them stagger. That just gets me fired up. Yeah. I'm like, go ahead, Joe. Preach, brother.
There's some destruction. There's some resurrection. There's everything in there.
No doubt. And then there's one funny part. Verse 4 of 13, he says, as for you, you smear me with lies. As physicians, you are worthless quacks. That's
dang. try telling your doctor that one.
Right. That's exactly what I thought. Like, man, I'm gonna go to my doctor and say, man, you worthless quack.
I think they'll be writing you a prescription for something after that.
That's great. It was like, yeah, you need a vacation. Take this hotel key. As you can see, we're just breaking out props to keep it interesting. And we're trying to see who can come up with props. So then he goes on. Anything else you see in Job?
Not really. It's
really, you're just done.
Job, yeah, I'm done being depressed.
Yeah.
I want something happy, Because Job
great.
can get dry if you're reading a lot of it. Like we got how many chapters? Like 4 chapters. Yeah. We got 4 chapters of Job. That is a depressing day to read, Yeah,
it is. But again, I love the fact that how he gets into, I wouldn't say the science of the blame game. That's really what it's about. Who do we blame? Who do these problems come from? Like, did God cause corona or did God send coronavirus? That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Did God cause this political and racial unjust right now? Or, that's going on right now? Like, what is all this stuff about? And it's really depending on how you view God and how you look at it.
Yeah.
So, I got this random one underlined, so let me just read it. Look, God does not even trust the angels. Even the heavens are not absolutely pure in his sight. Whoa.
Dang.
Bro. How much less pure is corrupt, is a corrupt and sinful person. He's like, bro, you can't even trust yourself. Mm-hmm. So shut up this nonsense. On to 1 Corinthians.
Yeah, 1 Corinthians.
I know some people right now just tuned in to see what we have to say about 1 Corinthians 15.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, tell us about it.
Oh, man. You didn't give me a lot of time to read this ahead of time.
That is great.
So,
so go ahead. Let's see what you think.
One thing that stuck out to me was verse 42. It says, so is it with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable. What is raised is imperishable. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It's all about everything has a beginning, has an end.
That's good. That's good. And speaking of the end, like how are you helping? Are you prepared to deal with the end, this life after death? And how are you helping other people prepare for it? So here's the thing. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 can be a divisive one. It's one that divides the body. So like, man, is it okay to speak in tongues? What do I do? Do I not speak in tongues? But what does Jason think? Here's what Jason thinks. Are you ready? Jason thinks God called you to unify the body. Jason believes that God's called you to help people grapple with the end of their life and accept Jesus. So the question ultimately becomes, what are you doing to actually help people understand who God is in a place of unity? That's my take on it. And so and something like this that can be an in-house debate that people have, like, man, be careful when you're saying it, even how you argue with people who you disagree with, because actually you could be sowing more discord trying to prove that you're right in your perspective, and that's just dangerous.
And especially, people love to take these verses and use it to argue one way or the other.
Right.
But they won't read 2 chapters back where it says that love is the most important thing. Love is our driving force,
Absolutely. Danger. If all you're doing is talking about 1 Corinthians 15 without talking about 13. Danger.
Yeah, I mean, love is our driving force. So why hate each other over something that's ultimately small?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, I love verse 56. This is one that helps me when it's when we experience death in our families and close loved ones. and the fact that, man, one day, it won't be an issue, and Christ actually, although death hurts, man, Christ dealt with this stuff, and he says, "O death, where's your victory? O death, where is your sting? For sin is the sting that results to death, that the law gives sin its power. But thank God, he gives us victory over sin and death through our Lord Jesus." So, yeah, although one day we're going to die, actually, if you believe in Jesus, you won't actually die. You will actually just go to sleep. Because there's a second death for those who don't believe in Jesus. And that's what you don't want. And Jesus help us escape that.
Well, and even earlier, Peter says in this chapter that he dies every day.
That's good.
Because we got to die every day. We got to die to our old selves. We got to be the new us every single day.
That's so good.
So that kind of death, there's no sting. That's a good death.
Absolutely.
Death has no sting.
Right.
Because I'm doing it every day.
So what's the way that you die every day?
I wake up in the morning and I say, I'm going to be better than I was yesterday.
Absolutely.
Whatever it comes down to, whatever I'm struggling with, I say, I need to be better at that. You know, whatever I'm not doing right, I need to be better.
That's good. I think of, I don't know if you remember In Living Color. In Living Color, that was an old sketch show. Probably
before my time.
Yeah, it was in the 90s. And there was this deal where this guy had an old CNI dog named Duke, but Duke was dead. So he had this dead CNI dog. And he had a dead dog. He like, get him, Duke, get him, Duke. And Duke would actually sniff for drugs. And he would like, see, Duke knows where, and he would be laughing. And every time Duke would always find the drugs. It was hysterical. But I look at the dead dog as to me dying every day. When there's certain temptations that will come up. And if I view as myself as I've died to that, then I don't have to respond to that.
Yeah.
So when sin says do it, I don't have to say yes to it. I can actually say no. So sometimes when I do die, I don't have to have that third, fourth, fifth piece of cake or those 18 cookies instead of 2.
But 18 cookies is very good.
It is.
I do like a good solid 18.
That's good stuff. And then the last verse in 1 Corinthians 15, it says this. This is one I've heard quoted a lot over my life that's been passed down. Be steadfast, unmovable, always, this version says, working enthusiastically for the Lord. Always. When you work for the Lord, get excited about it. Turn down for what? Get excited.
You gotta plug in your charger. Get a little energy in there and charge it up and go.
Get your dog boy and just drink up and go after it some more. Go after it enthusiastic. For know that nothing you do for the Lord is useless. Nothing is useless. God wastes nothing. Everything that you've done, even using a doggy bowl or a charger or a guy right here. Man, I love Psalm 39. I always think about David. You know, when David wrote this, it's the idea of, man, people doing wrong. Kind of like Job, people doing wrong and they're prospering. But I'm here and I'm like, man, what in the world is really going on here? So, you know, it's like, but at the end of the day, even if people are successful from lying or they're doing things, you know, this stuff fades and it fades quickly, very quickly. You ever see people successful? You're like, dang, if I would have just done it this way, I would have murdered it.
All the time.
Especially as a creative person.
Yeah.
Goodness. But, that's why one of my favorite songs, that Be Not Weary, what David says, I'm sorry, I noticed in the old King James Version, don't fret or don't be anxious because of evildoers. You know, if you just hold on, they're going to get weary and fade away. But the Lord will sustain you in due season if you just hold on. Hold on. I'm coming.
And, you know, we see that a lot in the Bible of people who are successful but far from God.
Yeah.
We see it a lot in our daily lives as well.
Absolutely.
And I had a mentor once tell me, that the way he saw it was these people who are far from God, they may never actually get to meet God. So maybe it's just God's way of loving them while he can before they fully separate from him.
Wow.
Maybe he's just trying to give them all the blessings he can just to say, hey, I still love you even though you're not going to choose me.
Wow. I never looked at it like that. That's interesting.
Now, I don't know how much there is to support that in the Bible.
That's
it's nice to think of that, you know?
Because there's this reality that God does allow it to rain on the just and the unjust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ultimately, wealth, resources, that stuff comes from God. And if a person is being ungodly and God's like, I'm going to bless that person for a while, that shows you God's grace.
Yeah.
But then, the son, that's like the parable of why can't I say it right now? I'm tired. I just finished preaching. The prodigal son. The son who stayed at the house, he was mad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he gets the fatted calf and I ain't going nowhere. This is what we doing there. That's why you got to protect your heart, knowing that God, if God blesses somebody, he chooses to bless them and stop being jealous.
He's got a fatted calf waiting for all of us.
Come on,
at
somebody.
some point.
Absolutely.
But he's also got bad days waiting for all of us too. That's just life, right?
Spoken like a true Job. Thanks, brother. And it's true. It's all facts there. I love this proverb that we end with. This proverb is great. This is one that I quote to myself before I stand up on stage, especially when it comes to stand-up comedy that I want to be successful at. It says, the horse is prepared for battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. I love that verse, man. It's like you do everything that you can to put yourself in a place to be successful, but ultimately know that the victory comes from God. You got to prepare. You do what you can to be at your best. But at the end, just know that it's God who gives the victory.
Yeah.
So as you go out into your day, you be victorious unless you got something else to say.
I think you nailed it. That's the best way to end, I think.
So, and this is the second best way to end. Thanks for hanging out with me, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for picking me. I'm really glad we got to do this together. I'm glad you all got to join us too.
Absolutely. And when you see him, encourage him for being an amazing creative person. Peace.
See you later.